NATO commanders in Afghanistan say their forces are involved in some of the heaviest fighting since the Korean War. So 5 years after the Taliban were forced out, they must be pretty strong. On top of that, opium production in Afghanistan is sharply up. A think tank called the Senlis Council says there's a connection. It's just put out a report called Afghanistan 5 years after. Emmanuel Reinert is the council's executive director. He's in our studio in London. So Emmanuel, your report has come out and said that the US-led international community has failed Afghanistan. How?
Well, I think mainly because we didn't manage to break the cycle of violence in the country. And by doing so, we actually, helped the Taliban to, first of all, win the Hurt and Mind campaign, and then to regain control of the southern part of the country at least.
Why do you think it is? I just want to touch on the first thing that you said. Why do you think it is that the international community has not been able to break that cycle of violence?
I think because the way the priorities were set was flawed and wrong. What I mean is we have continued to pursue a purely military approach. After chasing Al-Qaeda, we've been chasing terrorists and insurgents. So we're just adding violence to the violence. And doing that, we totally ignore the poverty crisis, which is rampant in Afghanistan, and which is right now turning into a true humanitarian disaster. We have, witnessed 15 minutes from military camps in Kandahar, makeshift camps with kids starving, kids dying almost every day. Picture that you only see normally in Africa, or in Darfur, or in Ethiopia years ago. And on top of that, the only action that has, been seen by the local people on the ground is eradication of the only source of revenue. I'm talking about the poppy crop. So that's all this has been used by the Taliban, to actually regain the control of the country and to clearly manifest to the local population that actually the foreign troops were there on a war on Afghans, not a war on terror, but a war on Afghans.
So what do you think should be done?
I think really it's absolutely necessary, and it's as a matter of urgency, to send a clear signal that we are in the country for something totally different, that we're here to help the Afghans and to understand what their needs are. But we need to manifest manifest this very clearly by a change of management. The first thing is to send food and water to the people in need, as simple as that, and then to put development first. When you look at the global figures, the military spending outpaced development spending by 900%. So that's really tell you how.
Now, what people in the West will say, military leaders will say, the reason why they're focusing on fighting the Taliban is because they need to fight the Taliban in order to start those reconstruction projects, in order to really help the people, that they need to do this before they're able to actually help the people there. You don't buy that?
But the problem is, doing that, you don't break the vicious circle of violence. What I mean is, because there is violence, we put military means first, but then we have more poverty and a humanitarian crisis, which reinforce the Taliban, give them the support of the local population, then they can conduct more attacks and more ambushes, which will lead to more violence, etc., etc. The Taliban are not going to break that cycle of violence. We got to do it. And the other thing is, in Afghanistan right now, it's not reconstruction effort anymore which is needed. We're talking about bridges, roads, electricity. It's much more basic than this. It's really first aid, water, food right now.
So why do you think it is then that there has been more of a military focus and less of a humanitarian focus?
I think that's because it's the way it has all started in a way 5 years ago. with the US-led Operation Enduring Freedom Action, which has been extremely successful in getting rid of the Taliban and liberating the country for the Taliban. And we had a fantastic window of opportunity at the time for a successful collaboration between the international community and a Muslim country. But we have not been able to translate a successful invasion, quote unquote, within successful nation building. So, and we have been, trapped into an endless war on insurgency.
Emmanuel Reinert, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We're just days away from the 5th anniversary of 9/11, and CBC News